And early 19th century, and you see that all the buildings are rather French Baroque buildings. You have just in front of you the National Theatre of Tunis, wonderfully decorated by the Italian community of Tunis. And the particularity of Tunis and this area mainly, before getting into the antique Medina and the antique city of Tunis, is that we used to have many communities, different communities, and we had different areas in Tunis. So you have the Italian area, the Maltese area, the French area, and so on. So for a long time ago, we used to hold Maltese immigrants, Italian immigrants, and even Spanish immigrants, and different other people living in Tunisia. We even had some British people living in Tunisia. We had their area because British people at some time in the history used to be very good pirates through the Mediterranean Sea, and they were hired by the king of Tunisia just to defend the borders of Tunisia. And they hired all these pirates. They were British pirates, and they had even their area, which were suburbs of the antique city of Tunis, where we're going over there. So Tunisia is really very small and very flat compared to the three countries of North Africa, which are Algeria and Morocco. So we are the flattest country among all these. The highest mountain in the Atlas chain of mountains is found in Morocco, and the highest mountain we have in Tunisia is in Shambi, and it's only 1,542 meters. It's not that high compared to different other mountains all over the world. So we're really a very flat country. That's why we don't have very high buildings. And our highest building in Tunisia is over there, the hotel over there, the blue one, that's Hotel Africa. That's the highest building, and it's only 22 floors, that's all. Later on, since the capital Tunisia holds about a third of the population of whole Tunisia, and Tunis and its suburbs is getting a bit, we don't have enough room for all the people living in Tunis and all the people we get from abroad. That's why we've been filling not all the lakes. We've been filling some of the lakes we're having surrounding the city of Tunis. We gained some land in the northern suburbs of Tunis, and it is a new city, and then we're trying to build a new city on the southern suburbs of Tunis, and there we will have higher buildings, higher than this one. Not much higher than the ones you have got in Hong Kong or New York. We'll have something very reasonable for our flat country. So let's go. If ever you need ATMs, you have ATMs along the street. If you need, what would you need? Just be careful for your bags, because we're getting into the Medina. It's a bit crowded. It's Saturday afternoon, and many people are crossing the street and all over. And please be careful not to get lost. It's a one and unique street going directly to the Bab Bahar. So be behind me. I try to. Tunisia. We have several ones in different other cities. The street we've been crossing 200 years ago used to be water, used to be the sea. And this door used to be the main entrance of the city of Tunis. We used to have very big walls, very thick walls around the city of Tunis. And unfortunately, when we got our independence and our first president didn't like all these walls, and they started destroying all these walls. But some people of the city of Tunis went against this destruction of the walls of Tunis, and they stopped them. That's why we still have some of the doors of the city. One of these doors is this one. It's called Belkhar. That's the door of the sea, because in fact the sea was here, just here, and people used to leave their small boats, fishing boats, next to this door. But then 200 years ago, unfortunately, with the expansion of the with the expansion of the capital Tunis, we needed to have more land for people, and that's why I've been filling all this sea, and we kept the sea just on the other part. So all the street we've been crossing used to be the sea 200 years ago. Okay? So normally at 4 o'clock you should be back here next to this door. Okay? 4 o'clock you should be here next to 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock for everyone.
Okay, so the other people.
Let's see what he says.
Over in the Muslim world. Okay? So this is Jama Zitouna. Our meeting point at 4 o'clock is Bel Har, Porte de France, if you manage to say it in French, if ever you get lost. Okay? You should meet at 4. And if you want to shop something, you have this street you went along. The Medina is very easy. If you go down, you go to Bel Har, Porte de France. If you go up, you go to Al Qasba, where we've been yesterday when we went to the restaurant. Okay? Alright, so, have time? Meet you in half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah, 4. Who are those who will be leaving walking? You. So again, good morning everybody. I guess you've been seeing all the scenery around the countryside. It's really wonderful since we had the rain for the next few days, for the last few days, and then it's really getting wonderful. We have green land everywhere, and it's the countryside of Tunisia, and it is really very, very rich for all Roman ruins. So before starting, let me introduce to you Monet. She's our local guide over here in Doka. She will be giving you much more explanation than I can give you. You will see lots of things we've already seen yesterday in Bardo Museum or in Carthage, and you will see exactly wonderful things and wonderful mosaics and wonderful buildings everywhere. Doga is really wonderful to see. Before starting our visit to the Roman ruins of Doga, if everyone would like to go to bathrooms, you have over there bathrooms that are clean ones and really wonderful for refreshments too. Okay? Let's start then. She will be your guide in the site. I will be with you.
Oh my god. Is this acoustic too?
Yes.
It's fully acoustic.
Try to talk. You want to go on the stage, try to talk, and you'll see that everyone will be here. You don't have to cry, to scream, and everyone hears what you're saying. It's really wonderful.
Is originally a Berber city. This was built by Berbers during the 4th century BC. Then, during the 3rd and the 2nd century BC, Duga was occupied by Punic, then Roman, Vandals, Byzantine, and then Arab Muslim. So 6 civilizations were in here, but the best preserved monuments are Roman. Here we have found the Roman city, an irregular Roman city, with the public, private, religious monuments, the original road with the chariot marks, and some monuments built during the 18th century AD, 7th century or 2nd century BC. And Duga was abandoned in 10th century AD, so the erosion covered everything. All this theater was under the ground. So here, train alert, it snows, it's windy, so the erosion covered everything. This site was abandoned for about 8 centuries. So the erosion covered everything. And in 18th century, some families came again and they built a house on top of the monument, but they don't have an idea that it's an archaeological site. They continued to live here until 1963. So this time the government have destroyed everything and the people were removed to Duga Nouvelle at 4 kilometers from here in order to restore the monument. We have the French archaeologists started digging here in 1894 and they excavate 25 hectares, but the area is about 85. So 60 are still under the ground, but we have stopped now the excavations because all the land are still private. We have the best quality of olive oil in Tunisia and we produce a lot of grain. Okay? So during the Roman period, which was started in 46 BC, the Romans started to live with Berbers, but after that, they covered everything and they continued to build on top of it. And the rich families have built the most interesting monument, like the theater, the Capitol Temple, the Mercury Temple, and the market. Okay. Duga was a municipality in 205 AD under the reign of Septimius Severus, and a Roman colony in 261 AD. But everybody came in Duga because of the strategic position. They have the fortification by the high cliff in north and northeast. They found the water, and their own springs are still using nowadays. They have the land for farming and the stone, the limestone to build the monument. Everything was between the hands to live in here, maybe 10th century. Okay? So we start our visit. This theater, then we go down to the public latrines, Trifolium House, Caracalla the Omnia Tibi Felicia House, then an anonymous temple, Capitol Courtyard, and then we'll finish with the Severus Alexander Arch. Okay? It will be for about 1 hour and a half. Okay? So this theater was built in 168, 169 AD under the reign of Marcus Aurelius. This is the best preserved theater in Tunisia. We found it look like. We have just restored the mosaic, the 2 columns on the top, and the wall. But the others are original. And we talk about the Greco-Roman theater because the cavea or the steps are semicircular and built against a head into the rock, like the Greek theater. And you have here 19 stairs divided in 3 levels by the galleries for the 3 social classes. On the top it was for the poor, then the middle class and the rich. Here you have 5 stairs for the emperor, the entities and the wealthy people. But the gates were different. So the wealthy people came from this stage. The rich was also, and the poor from the top. It was 5 doors like that. And 3,500 spectators came in this theater, men, women and children. So the population was about 5,000 people inside the city and 5,000 around it. Okay. The second part of this theater is the orchestra, this area. This is the separation between the steps and the stage. And the Roman can add some chairs, wooden chairs, if they have a lot of spectators. And this stage, the third part, was restored, was delimited, by 2 levels of columns. Look at that. 2 stories. The first one supports the inscription, which gives an idea about the date of the building, the name of the family husband, and the emperor. And the second one, there is a without wall to cover the theater by a villain when it was so hot and so cold. It was covered like a tent, only in summer and winter time. Okay? And behind the columns, normally you should have a wall. So that wall and the semicircular form of the caviar present a good acoustic for the actors, but without echo. Because the Roman used the terracotta pipes, tubes, which is down the stage, it absorbed the sound and it stopped the echo. You know, we'll say layout of the prompters, of the, the terracotta pipes used for everything. And you have also to look at openings. Look at that small window. That's the prompters to forget the text. You want if somebody forget the lines, they have that on actors. No. You have 2 examples.
Over here, please. Is there anyone behind you, Dorothy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So here it was the Cyclops bath because of these mosaics. But before going, you have here the map of the 25 hectares which were excavated. And here it's an irregular Roman city. We never seen the perpendicular road like in Rome, as for example in Pompeii or Sbaitla in Tunisia, because we are on top of the hill. And it was so difficult to flatten the land. So the Romans used the Berber monument and the Berber road, and they put just the pavement in diagonal. Look at, in order to stop slipping, because the limestone is very soft, so they think to put the stone in diagonal. And you have also the underground sewer system to evacuate the usual and the raining water, which was used to irrigate the lands. That's for the fertility. And you have also to see this stone. Look at this. This was the manhole. They should left the stone, they open, they clean it, and then they close it again. You have a lot of other. And here, this city is normally it should be delimited by the fortress and 4 gates. Here in Duga, we never seen the fortress. We have just the hill and in north and northeast. So the Romans have built the garrison on top of the hill, and they have built 2 gates: the Septimus Severus Arch and the Severus Alexander Arch. The first one is down of there. It was built in 205 AD under the reign of Septimus Severus. And through there, the Roman gone to Carthage. Then you have the second one, the Severus Alexander Arch, built between 222 to 235 AD under the reign of Severus Alexander. But here you have also the theatre, the Capitol Quartier, the Anonymous Temple, you saw that, the houses, Caracalla Baths, the Cyclops Bath, the Cyclops Bath, Trifolium House, the Gorgoni House, and the Libico Punic Mausoleum. We have found also these water tanks. The big one had a capacity of about 9,000 cubic meters, the middle 6,000, and the smaller 3,000 cubic meters. And the aqueducts are at 10 kilometers from here, which fed the 3 tanks. And the Roman springs are still using nowadays. We can drink the water, and it's used to restore the monument. And we have also to dig out a hippodrome for racing chariots. We have found the mosaic. We moved it to Bardo Museum, and we have stopped the excavation. The land is still private. Okay. So about the Cyclops baths, there is a bath, but it's private to the Trifolium House. It's the same architecture style like the Caracalla bath. We saw that, but here you can see the public latrines, the best preserved one in this.
Oh my god. What a
Could you
bathroom.
guess what it is?
Bathroom.
Potty seats.
Yes.
When you go to the bathroom.
You have a seat.
So this was a public bath,
Yes.
and was this for men only? Was it for women only? Was it for
What the jury?
both at different times?
They used to discuss political issues over here, so they were two people and then they just
Yeah.
discuss. Really, no, I'm not.
No, that's
they
true.
used to discuss political issues in these places, and generally they do lots of things in baths, things like gymnasium. They have massages. In fact, it's like a very antique spa.
Did women have their own baths?
Well, yes.
Okay.
We're from the private and public toilet. Okay. This is generally for men, the visitors and the workers. And the women, they don't work, they stay at home and they have their private latrines. Okay. But here, the public latrines are without separations, and the Roman have to pay when they go to the toilet. So Vespasian is a Roman emperor. He needed money to build a monument. So I think to the toilet. Everybody needed. Yes. And he said that money doesn't have any smell, any odor. Because you don't know that. So, and here, look at this channel. The water came from the Cyclops cistern, and this was used to clean themselves. They used a stick and natural sponge. Okay. And this was connected to the drain system, so that's for the fertile lands. Okay.
Yeah, comfortable. Very
It is. Okay, let's move to something else.
And the second, maybe it was 10 rooms, and you have that water system. And the Cyclops baths are private with a house. And we said Trifolium House because of the arch which decorate the dining room. I like a trefoil, that one. This was restored. Yeah. And here we have two identifications, two hypotheses. So the first archaeologists, when they start to dig here, they found a stone with the phallus symbols and the mummies of the woman. Somebody said that's for fertility. So this was a hotel or a house of wealthy people. Some others said no, this is to show the direction of the bordello. So that's a brothel. But compared to Pompeii or to Rome, it's not a brothel because the house is very big, the rooms are very big, huge, and you have the two pillars in the entrance, two stables in front of the house, and a private bath. And we never seen that before. In Pompeii, for example, the house is a sacred house, smaller rooms with the fresco paintings, and they never seen that stone with the phallus symbols. They found it in many houses, but it's just for fertility. Yeah. Maybe it was a hotel because they have a commercial change between the Roman of Carthage, Sicily, Rome, Algeria, and it's not far away between the first gate, the Septimus Severus Arch, and this house. Okay, 2 gates. But look at this was the kitchen, and we have 2 entrances. From here we can go to the dining room, and from here you have a tunnel to come to the 2nd floor, 1 via. But when they said that is the bordello, they said that there is the secret entrance for wealthy people. They have this semicircular part in that on the bottom. They said that's the cashier to pay before going, and but that's imagination. It's not very sure. Okay.
So those square columns down there,
Yeah.
when were they built? They're unusual. I mean, everything else is cylindrical, but
Yeah,
But
it's
those are square.
Roman. It was built in the same time because normally it's a century on the lot. And there is another wall behind the columns. They can't use the circular columns, so they've changed and they use the rectangular column. It's better than to use the circular one if they have the wall behind. That's for building. That's the Roman.
This is where I work, because we have a lot of different jewelry and things. Yeah. Yeah, you should. It's on 12th and Arch.
Yeah, it used to be at
17th Street. Yeah.
That's to protect the wall when the chariots come to the stable. Okay. Okay, let's move to something else. Was under the reign of Caracalla between 217 AD. And in those baths we have found 3 levels. The first one is the service entrance. We saw that. You have the second floor is the when you can see the calidarium, the hot room, chapidarium, the warm, and the frigidarium, gymnasium, and the entrance. And the third one was totally destroyed when the people continued to live on top of the monument. Okay, they destroyed and they used the stone to build their house. Okay? Very nice. We have 2 gates. From here we can go to the hot room, the calidarium, and from there to the frigidarium. But let's see this part because we have the terracotta pipes. Look at this.
Oh yeah, that's where the steam comes out.
No, it's not for steam. For anything.
what is it for?
This is to make the arch, the frame arch.
Oh, right. Yeah, they framed it up.
Oh, okay.
That's the terracotta pipes used on the theater to stop the echo. But here is the frame arch. Look. So the Romans, they don't have a lot of wood to heat and to build the monuments. So they think to use the pipes to build the arches. They built an arch with the pipes. They put in one inside the other like an arch, and then they put the stone on top of it. And they use it also to refresh, like an isolation, because we have down the hot room. And they should refresh because of the worker who's move from this way to heat the water and to add the wood. Okay? So the terracotta pipes was used on the theater to stop the echo, here to build the fires, to build the vault, The inside the house was to refresh, and on the hot room to move the steam, the hypocast system, for 4 reasons. Okay? It's okay? You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there. That's the entrance of the slaves, but this is for the wealthy people. This is the entrance to the bath. Normally you come from the top, you have these steps, and then this room. They use the cement, is lime, sand, and the pottery, in order to stop the erosion and to fix the mosaic. Okay? It's the same cement which was used during the Roman time. Okay? Like this over there. They practice some activities like lat, muscles. They used a lot of olive oil for massage. Then they come to the changing room. They have one in this area. This was the first changing room. And the second is behind that arch. Then they go to the hot room, calidarium. They wait a moment in the tippet, and they finish quickly in the frigidarium in order to close the pores. It's like the sauna, the same things, but this was added by Romans firstly. Okay, so this is the frigidarium. This is the frigidarium. From here to that arch is the frigidarium, the cold room. And here we have 3 swimming pools of cold water. This was the first, the second over there, and the third. And all the walls were covered in marble. Okay, and you have the niche for the statue in order to decorate the monument, the marble statue. But generally, when we found this statue, we found it without the head, the headless statue, because the Roman, when they've changed the emperor, they use the same body of their statue, and they've changed just the head to save money and time. Okay. This smaller one between the frigidarium and the calidarium is the tepidarium, the warm, the medium separation between the hot and the cold to protect themselves. And here, normally we should walk on this level. This is the original floor. And here it was the fires when they put the wood to heat the water. And their fires were built by the volcanic stone, the lava stone, which came from Etna, from Sicily. It's light and porous, that's to keep the heat. And along of this floor, they have normally the terracotta pipes which should move the steam, the hot air. And on top of it, it was the swimming pools of hot water decorated with mosaics. The wall also were covered firstly by mosaic, but after that they have changed to use the marble. And when we talk about mosaics, this is the mosaic. We have 5 levels. The first one is a stone. Then you have a 3 levels of cement, lime, sand, and the pottery. On top of the third, it was the motif. Then they cut the tessers and they put it one by one. But to move the mosaics, as for example to Bardo Museum, we should give out all the cement which is between the tessers, between the stone. Then we cover everything by resin, a cloth. If it was colored, we should prepare another cement and we reput the mosaics on top of it. Okay, that's the method to move the mosaic. And the mosaics were created firstly in 2 colors, black and white. Then they found the color stones, so they added to have the geometric motif, the flower, the activity of worker, which give an idea about their life. We can imagine from the mosaic. Okay. And Tunisia, the first government which produced the mosaic, Yeah, we are the first one. Okay. Found these sentences, and it means happiness for you, my daughter. Somebody said that this house was built by the dad to his daughter when she was married. Nice day. Yeah. And look at, so down there you have the entryway which open to the street. So they added the vestibule in order to cover the roads. Then you have the dining room. In Latin it means triclinium because the table should be like a T. And in three sets you have a big shed when the people should sit there. And you have the kitchen, 3 bedrooms surrounded by the courtyard, which is an open area, so just to make light, natural light, and to aerate the houses. In the middle you have the impluvium, which is decorated with mosaics, that's to collect the rainwater, surrounded by a garden, and you have a water system to irrigate it. The houses are very big, but the rooms are small because of the thick wall which was used to refresh in summer and to keep the heat in winter. They decorate the houses with mosaics with fresco painting, the public monuments in marble and mosaic. And the roofs were triangular, entirely wood. And here in Duga, they can flatten the land to build a big house, so they think to build 2 levels, like the trifolium house. And look at, the first level was built into the house, into the rock, and the second on top of it. But they built that by stone, it's not a wooden floor. Okay.
Underneath, and then one fits into the other. It makes it more stable for the column. Because the column doesn't come into one and unique piece. It's generally 3 pieces depending on the height of the column. And then the pieces fit one into the other with these kind of system that one on the bottom is rounded and the other one you have a hole, and then every piece fits into the other with these kind of holes.
Is this an earthquake zone?
No. We don't have much earthquakes in Tunisia.
No.
The only threat we're fearing is the Etna volcano in Sicily, because the day the Etna would erupt, we will get something very bad for the Mediterranean first, and Sicily is not that far from Tunisia. It's about, well, it's not really far, and then we really fear the Etna eruption whenever it would erupt, and Etna is still awake, still active. Yep.
Yeah.
There used to be a library, but I don't think that they found it. They found
No. You're just inside the gymnasium. It's a small one.
So it was a small library, not a big one?
No.
No.
So this was another gymnasium?
No. Because of the inscription is not from this monument, no. It was the intermarriage between the 2 civilizations, but everybody had the religious and the parliament, everything different. But after that, the Roman covered everything. Yeah. But here we are on top of the, we are on the anonymous temple. We don't have an idea about the god, but this was a temple. When this monument was covered by erosion, the Leshab family, one of the families who built the house on top of the monument, even here. And in 19th century, the French architect came to see that mausoleum, the tower, down there. So he described everything, and as a description, the French archaeologists started digging here, and they rebuilt that mausoleum. Okay. It was very nice for the sites, but very bad for the people who's living here. Yeah.
So what about that? Say that again about that mausoleum.
We said Libyco-Punic mausoleum is a Berber tomb, but Libyco-Punic because the inscription is in Libyc and Punic. Libyc is the Berber language, Punic is the Carthaginian. And that monument was built during the 2nd century BC in order to dedicate the Berber king Ataban. And that was destroyed in 1842 by the British consul Thomas Reid just to remove an inscription in Libyc and Punic, which was on the bottom, 21 meters of height, with 3 architecture styles. You have the Egyptian by the Pyramidion on the top, the Greek with the Doric and the Ionic column, and the Roman with the big stone on the bottom.
And the epitaph is now in the British Museum. And we cannot get it back from the British Museum. It's not the only thing we have somewhere else in Europe. We have lots of things, Tunisian ruins in France, Germany, Britain. And unfortunately, it's not that easy to get all these things back.
And look at, from here you can see water system. Look at down there, right depicted. You have 3 compartments. That is the smallest cistern, 3,000 cubic meters. And it should fire the summer baths. we were in the Caracalla bath, the winter bath, but they usually was summer bath. The difference that the frigidarium is much bigger than the frigidarium of the Caracalla bath, and this was built in the south area. Okay?
So those cisterns only serve the summer baths?
Yes, only the summer baths. The second cistern is behind the Severus Arch, that one, and the third is on the top. That's the actual storage. Okay?
Where they bring the water from?
Yeah.
2 kilometers from here is behind that hill, and the canalization, the sewer are built into the hill,
And through the hill?
and through the hill.
To here.
Yes.
And then we have many
Underground.
springs in this area. It's really, they have a lot of rain in the area, and they have lots of water springs and water sources everywhere.
Yeah. And look at on top of that hill, you can see the Roman garrison. Control this area. So we have to dig out all that land, the olive trees on top of that hill and all around. But it's still private land.
That structure has really withstood the test of time. That one piece there in the front.
Arch. We found the forum, the arch, but not yet about the temple. Okay. And this area was used by 3 civilizations: Berbers, Roman, and then Byzantine. Okay, so let's see one. And then in 1960s, just moved the population outside this site into another city. They built a new city for them in order to keep the city and move it back to a Roman site where people can visit. To build here, they start to restore the agora, and it was their forum. Here the rich citizens and the governor came to discuss and resolve the problem of their city. And normally we should have the capital in front of the forum. Here in Duga, it was built in this area because of the topography. When they found the place, they built the monument. And normally you should have the portico delimited in the first side by the columns. But here in Duga, you have just the 3 sides, that's the second and the third, in order to respect the temple of Massinissa, which is down there. You have the concave and convex form on the bottom. That's the temple of Massinissa, the Berber king, who was allied with the Berbers, with the Romans during the Second Punic War, and they have the problem with Hannibal. And then the Romans covered the monument, and they continued to build on top of it. They added the capital in 166 AD. Okay? And during the Byzantine period, the forum and the capital was a fortress. They found the capital, it is so high to control this area, and they found the water just at 10 meters deep. So they added the wall around it, and they enclosed themselves when they were invaded by Muslims. Okay? So Berber Agora, Roman Forum, and then Byzantine fortress.
Did the capital also serve as a lyceum?
The religious monuments built to dedicate the 3 god
Only
protector of
religious?
Rome. Yeah.
Was there a
Juno-
lyceum here?
No.
What's a lyceum?
It's like a library.
Yeah, they had libraries.
No, we don't fall there.
No.
So just the religious monuments. And the main temple in every Roman city, we should find the capital temple. But the particular one is in Sbaitla, in south of Tunisia. 3 different monuments, one for every god.
But they had library, right? They had library.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the Roman city had.
Roman, they don't use the cement between these stones like this. This was this stone. But they use the lead. It's malleable. Yeah, they put it between these stones, and it's malleable, and it absorbs the shock of the earthquake. You know. And you have here 6 original columns, but 5 are monolithic. A single piece of a stone, 8 meters of height. Those 4 and the last one. With the Corinthian couple, an inscription which dedicates the 3 god protector of Rome, Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva. And in that pediment, you have the apotheose of the emperor, the eagle which supports the body of Antoninus Pius. You know, when the emperor died, he can be a god. So that's called the divinity, the symbol of the divinity is the eagle. Okay. And inside that cellar, the room, you have the 3 niches of the 3 colossal statues of the god. The middle is for Jupiter, the god of the god. Into the left, Minerva, his eagle, and into the right, is Venus, his eagle. Okay? And all the monument was covered inside by marble, like the public baths. Okay? And in every temple you have two parts, the nawas and the pre-nawas. The pre-nawas is are the steps, the vestibule, and the nawas is the room when you should found the statue of Libya. And here in Duga we have found just the head and the feet of the statue of Libya.
One we saw yesterday in the Border Museum, the big one, the very, very big one, yes.
Okay? And only the priest can go inside the monument. The people have normally a big stone in front of the temple. They put the sacrifices and donation. They can still see the statue from outside, the prank and the camera. Okay? Only the priest. And the sacrifices are animals, foods, or something other. It's not people. They're not.
Yeah, well, we're trying to
So far
move
as we
this
know.
idea about sacrifice of babies and sacrifice of people. They do not sacrifice people or babies. We have the Tofets, that's right, in Carthage. And what we found is that because they burn the bodies, we have no true and scientific proofs that these babies or bodies were killed for something like a sacrifice. Because in the same cemetery in the Tofet, we also found bodies of small animals like frogs, like mice, and so on. So exactly, we don't know the exact interpretation of this Tofet. Unfortunately, the story of Carthage and the people of Carthage was written by the winners, Roman and Greek. That's why they've been trying to do all their best in order to make Carthage people like barbar people and really very rude people. So that's not the true story. Unfortunately, again, all the written manuscripts of the Carthage period, the Punic period in Tunisia was burned, so we have nothing. The only remaining city, a Punic city in Tunisia, still standing at the ground level is Kirkwen, because it's never been
Sorry, I wasn't here. What was this place?
This is a windrow. It's what we call a windrow, is because you have the 12 names of the 12 different winds blowing in this place. And then at the middle over there you have a small circle. They used to have a wooden stick over there, and then it shows the direction of the wind, where the wind goes. Then you can see if the wind is bringing some rain or some hot weather. And you have the name of the wind. So Africus, and then the farm.
Are you sure it's not an astrological sign?
No.
Something to do with the moon and the planets?
No. These are the winds. Because you see here you have the small hole for a wooden stick. And then it goes with the direction of the wind. And to know which wind are. Because some of the names we still use them nowadays.
But how could they do the wind? This is good for planetary use, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Like all the other baths where there are frigidarium, tepidarium, calidarium, hot room, warm room, cold room, with also changing room and gymnasium, which means palestra. Then we see here the underground villa, the unique underground houses with 2 floors, one upstairs, the ground level, and another one downstairs, the underground level. We see treasure house, hunting house, new hunting house, Venus house, and also the Fisher house. And the other side of the site, we will see there is a spring of water, the large source of water, with the forum, the capital, the temple of Apollo, the market, the private baths, and at the end the theater. We'll finish the visit with the theater. You can see here the seats, the orchestra, and also the stage. You can see this photo from 1852, the date of the discovery of Bolarigia. Before the excavations, the only thing it was outside the top of the palace, which means that big window, but all the rest of the site were underneath. All of the other underground houses, the theater, even the palace, covered with the earthquake. because this Roman city, it was destroyed in the 7th century AD by the earthquakes, beginning of 8th century AD, and then through the time, because it was abandoned in this region, with the wind, with the erosion, with the inundation, slowly it was covered also with sand and with the earth, with the stone. The discovery, it was in 1850, but the first excavations normally from 1910 to 1990. 80 years of excavations, but from 74 hectares, only 10% excavated, which means 90% still underneath. The history of this Crimea region, which means the northwest part of Tunisia, like the other part of Tunisia, 4th century BC with the Berbers. They were nomads, the first inhabitants of all the north of Africa, the Berbers. After the Berbers, the Numidians, which means the period of Massinissa, Jugotas, the people who helped the Romans against the Carthaginians or the Punics during the second and the third Punic war. After the Numidians, the domination of the Romans in all Tunisia, but 100 years later here, which means from 46 BC to the 4th century AD, 450 years for the Romans here. After the Roman period, the Vandal period, the Germanic tributes here for 100 years, the 5th century AD. 6th, 7th century, the Byzantine period, which means the Christians who came from Turkey. From the 7th century, normally the presence of the Arabs, but just in the central part, Kairouan, or the east part of Tunisia, but not to this region because of that earthquakes of the 7th, 8th century AD. In the right part, you can see some funeral stairs, the highest part of the sarcophagus. See the funeral stairs found in the Roman cemetery, which is the necropoli. The necropoli not excavated. This system is
yell at me to get out of the way if you
No,
can.
please,
part,
please,
you can see the
please.
cistern. You have to feed the south part of the Roman city with drinking water, normally the water from the spring. You can see from here behind the modern road some big block of stones, which means there are more ruins, there are a lot of things to excavate. We'll go now to start the visit with the baths, the terms. Here you can see the Roman road, the principal road of the city of Balarica, but it was also the royal road or the imperial road. This road with the same paving stone by Carthage, Tunis, from Carthage to Udna, from Udna to Duga, the main road from Duga to here to Balarigia, from Balarigia to the quarries of the yellow marble, which means to Shemtu, from Shemtu to Tabarka, from Tabarka this same road continue the main road to Algeria and finish in Morocco. It was the commerçant road. Through this road the Romans, they export the grain, the wheat, because it was the grenier of Rome, the wild animals like the lions and the panthers, because there were lions and panthers here in Tunisia to 1932, and especially they export the yellow marble, the only quarry of yellow marble, from Shemtu to Rome, and they import from Rome to here the wine or also the Carrara marble, the white marble. Usually under the roads, the principal ones or the secondary ones, you want to see usually the draining system, you want to see some drips or some holes under the roads to evacuate the water used. Facing at the public terms of Julia Mimia, the baths of Julia Mimia. Julia Mimia, the lady, her financed the baths to offer it to the city of Balarigia, but she was a local woman, Romanized in the Roman period, because Julia Roman, but Mimia Berber, like the name also of the city, Bulla Regia. Bulla, normally the Numidian name, the original name of this city during the Numidian period, 3rd century BC 46, but we don't know to today which mean Bolla, without explanation. Regia in Latin Regina, used after by the Romans in the 2nd, 3rd century AD, which mean the royal, because Bolla Regia, it was a Numidian kingdom, and then it was a very rich city with the Romans. Normally the inhabitants of Bolla Regia during the
mosaic.
It was the changing room used at the end. Normally from the principal entrance, they normally go to the gymnasium to hit the body, to exercise, to do a massage. Normally from the gymnasium, they continue to the hot room, the calidarium, to the warm room, to the frigidarium next for freshness, to commerce and to pray, and they finish here in the changing room just to wear clothes. With the lockers, the changing room, mosaic on the floor, but Byzantine mosaic, not Roman. Why Byzantine? Because here they use big cells, not very small, not small cells like the Roman mosaics. Here the color is painted. They didn't use the color of the stone, the Romans, and also only geometric forms. All the mosaics from the 3rd to the 7th century AD without faces, without figures, because the Orthodox or the iconoclasts, they didn't use the faces, only geometric forms. After in the Venus house and also in the New Hunting house, we will see Roman mosaics very different to these ones, with the scene of hand, with the goddess, with goddess also, and the fish. After the changing room, we'll see the frigidarium, the cold room, this one. This is the frigidarium, the cold room, the draining system underneath, 2 swimming pools for cold water right and left, 4 canals, that canals they put statues, the best statues in Bardo Museum in Tunis. You can see that up canal, the symbol of the sun, like the symbol of the aqueduct, that one, because in that 2 canals, the Romans, they put the statues of Apollo, the god of the sun, Neptune, the statue of Neptune was there, the god of water. Behind us, another canal without symbol, for the statue of the emperor, where the Romans, they changed just the heads, new emperor, new head. We see a nice statue after in the entrance.